Testing 1 2 3 testing 1 2 3 testing. Okay, sorry, that beginning wasn't quite right. This is what I wanted to go over today in class. First of all, some technical things for the Bagrut. Before any Bagrut exam, a few days before, you should go into Mashov under Bagrut and make sure your school grade is there. If it's not visible to you, ask Efrat or Liba to make it visible to you. This way you can check and make sure your teacher put in the right school grade. Okay, next, be in class a half hour before the exam. I don't remember if it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes, but if you're late more than a certain amount of time, they will not let you into the exam and you'll have to wait for the next mo'ed. Okay, the day of the Bagrut, find your name. There's a map of rooms up on the bulletin board by the secretary upstairs. Find your name so you know what room to go into, and if you're not there, ask Liba. And be calm. Sometimes things go wrong on the day of the Bagrut. Don't worry, don't get upset. In the end, everything will work out. Okay, you go into your room, make sure that your phone is on off. You don't want your phone ringing in your bag in the middle of the test and disturbing other students. And put everything in the front of the room except your pen or whatever you need, your dictionary if it's G. When you get the test booklet, not everyone will tell you this, but I'm telling you this. There's a little square where they're going to put the sticker with your Teudat Zehut. It's on the lower right of the test booklet. Write your ID number on the test booklet. Don't wait to get the sticker. It's happened even in our school where for some reason a student get a sticker and they hadn't written their name on the booklet, so we didn't know who the booklet belonged to, and we had to call them back and have them identify their booklet. So as soon as you get your booklet, just write your ID number in the place where the sticker is going to go. And then when you get the sticker, just put it over what you've written. And of course, make sure the sticker on the ID is the sticker with your ID number. It should only have your ID number. It won't have your name. Make sure you know your ID number. Obviously, no talking, no questions. Teachers are not allowed in. Do not ask the examiners questions. They're not, they can't answer questions and they don't even know the material. But it is marked by a human being. So you can write something, like let's say, I don't know, you had a question in history and you weren't sure if it relates to World War I or World War II or some dumb thing like that. So you can say, well, if you're relating to World War I, this is the answer, and if you're relating to World War II, this is the answer. I'm not saying this is something that you should often have to do, but I'm saying if you have something in the question that you're not sure of, you can write something to the examiner. Now, it's not relevant for English. In English, understanding the question is part of the test, and of course, you're already used to that. So just answer the question. There's no reason you should have to write anything that you hope that for the examiner to see. I think they have this new dumb rule in English that you're not allowed to get extra paper. This is because in the past sometimes students asked for extra paper and they gave them a whole other booklet and it wasn't the same version and it caused all sorts of problems. So just use the paper that you're given. They give you a draft page that isn't lined where you can, for the composition, where you can write your ideas, and then they give you lined paper to write on. If you wrote your good copy on the draft pages and not on the line pages, that's fine too. Just mark it, make sure that they see where it is. And then if you need to write more, just find another place in the booklet to write it, like on the page where they give you the essay topic. Just make sure to write very clearly so that the examiner knows where to find it. Don't write on the cover because the cover is not scanned and no one will see it. So just in the test paper itself. I don't recommend that you write a whole rough draft. I think it's better just to plan out your essay carefully and then write it one time. But of course, that's up to you. Okay, new immigrants are entitled to Hakrat Shelon. and I mean new immigrants who were officially new immigrants in Mashov, which is done either on iTest or computer or MP3. And you can also bring in a dictionary for E if you're a new immigrant, but you will be in a separate room. So if you don't want to use Hakra'ah or bring a dictionary for E, you can let me know and we can just put you in a regular room. Okay, some of you have been asking about the grades from COBE. Usually grades are posted about a week before Moed Bet. COBE Moed Bet is the end of June, so certainly by the middle of June they'll probably post COBE, and I don't remember exactly when Moed Bet is for E and G, but they will post it usually about a week before Moed Bet, and you have to register for Moed Bet with who did I say before? Liba. Okay, now please don't register and then not come. A lot of girls do that, and it really creates problems for the school. If you registered for Moed Bet and then you change your mind, please let Liba know so she can, be ready for the exam only for the girls who are actually coming. Okay, in the unseens, just a review of some things we've talked about. Look for the main idea first. Probably it's in the name of the passage, it could be in the first paragraph. It's often something new as opposed to something old. Like they'll say, in the past this happened, but now we have a different solution. So it's often kind of new information. And also kind of decide what is the main topic of each paragraph. There are often questions on that, and it's just a good idea. It helps you understand. Now, you can make yourself little graphic organizers. Like recently, some of the girls did an exam on cli-fi. It's like climate change fiction, as opposed to sci-fi, which is science fiction. And then in the passage, they talked about, this one is from, say, the 19th century, and this one is from the 21st century, and this one is more realistic, and this one is more fantasy. And then there might be something that's the same that you might want to mark that these two things are the same. So you can make a little graphic organizer as you read, and that might help you with the questions. Okay, maybe then there's a question that compares them or says how they're the same or how they're different, and you have your little graphic organizer to help you. You can also highlight names in the passage, take note of names, dates, numbers, margin notes. You can really mark up the text however it's easiest for you. Okay, read the questions carefully. You usually cannot copy word for word from the text in G. Sometimes you can in E. In G, it's less likely. So make sure that your answering the question is given. You could think of the answer, use your own wording. You can take words as needed from the passage, but you might not be able to copy it verbatim, word for word. And remember, just answer the question. Don't write more than you need to answer. Okay, we've talked about questions that ask you to explain. So if they say paragraph 5 explains and they don't continue, it might be explain. You might want to continue explains how or explains why. If it explains how, you're talking about the process, how it was done, and if it explains why, it's the reason. Usually the question will say the paragraph explains how or the paragraph explains why, but sometimes they give the question where it's just explains and then you can decide. Remember that in these questions of explain, you don't give the explanation. You only say what is explained. We talked about this in class. If a student came in late for class and she says she was late for class because she missed the bus, and I ask what did she explain? She explained why she was late. If you write, she explained why she was late because she missed the bus, that answer would get 0 points. So you only say what's explained, you don't include the explanation. And then you can check yourself. For example, say you have this text, Janice abhorred flies. That means she hated them. She equipped her home with screens on every window and bought a fly swatter just in case a fly got through, her first line of defense. So the question, the paragraph explains why. It explains why she equipped her home with screens, or why she bought a fly swatter, or why she equipped her home with screens and bought a fly swatter. It doesn't say why she abhorred flies. Okay, and I can check myself. If I say, okay, she abhorred flies because, I don't know, it doesn't give me a reason. But if I gave the answer, the paragraph explains why she bought a fly swatter, and that's my answer. But if I want to think in my head and check my answer, I would think to myself, she bought the fly swatter because she hates flies, or she didn't want flies to, she wanted to kill the flies that got through the screen. So I have an explanation. Okay, so you don't give the explanation when you answer, but make sure that the explanation is there in the text. Okay, make sure the subject of the question is the subject of your answer and avoid using pronouns. So, for instance, if it says, what did the scientists think of the students' use of phones in class? And you begin they refers to scientists. If you didn't say otherwise, they refers to scientists. So this answer, they had a detrimental effect on the students' learning, would be wrong. They might decide it's completely wrong. They might give it partial credit, but if instead of writing they, you had written phones have a detrimental effect on the student's learning, that would probably be a good answer. But if you're using they, it refers back to the subject of the question. So make sure this is correct. The best thing to use is don't use a pronoun. Use scientists, use phones, use students, and say who you're talking about. Here's another example. What did the scientists think of the students' use of phones in class? They didn't do as well in exams. Well, again, that's wrong, because if I just write they, it refers back to scientists. And actually, these answers don't really even answer the question, because I'm asking what did the scientists think? So I should say the scientists think that students using phones in class has a detrimental effect, or they don't think it's a good idea, or they think it's disruptive, or whatever else was written in the passage. Okay, so be careful, and as I said, go back over your test. Make sure you didn't use it, he, she in your answer. It wouldn't be a mistake to begin your answer with the word scientists. You don't have to begin with the word they. So it's a good idea not to use pronouns, and then make sure that way you'll be sure that you don't make this mistake of using the pronoun that doesn't refer back to the right word. Okay, in examples, make sure you know which generalization the example is brought to support. Very often, you have these questions, the example is brought in order to show that, and then you have to go back and find the generalization. You can mark in your text, when they bring an example, you can make an arrow back to what the generalization was, because there are very often questions about examples, and you want to make sure you have the right generalization. Okay, make sure your answer is from the paragraph indicated. I just had a student take a makeup exam in which it says there are two answers. One is in paragraph lines 10 to 20, and one is in paragraphs 20 to 30. And the student mixed it up. Where it was 10 to 20, she gave the answer from 20 to 30, and where it was 20 to 30, she gave the answer from 10 to 20. She would get no points for that in the Bagrut. I think I gave her half, but in the Bagrut you get no points. If they ask you to bring an answer from a certain paragraph, make sure your answer is from that paragraph. They might say, look at the word, process in paragraph 2, and then they'll ask the question, and they'll say, tell about the process, what we know about it from paragraph 3. So read it carefully. It will tell you where to take the answer from, and make sure you only give an answer that's from the right paragraph. Okay, of course, don't talk, don't copy. If you copy, you can end up hurting both yourself and the person you copied from, because if you copy from somebody and they see two tests and they can see that there was copying, they just they give a C lot at both tests. So don't copy. Just do your best. Okay. Essay. Make sure to write on the topic exactly as given. Write a short introduction. Don't give your these. It's going to be an opinion essay, so don't give your opinion in the first sentence. Begin by presenting the topic, presenting the issue. You know, a 2 or 3 sentence of introduction. Some of it you can copy from the topic. The words, the topic subject. Then make sure you have 2 or 3 paragraphs that explain your opinion. One idea should be presented and developed in each paragraph. Make sure to skip a line between paragraphs, otherwise they won't see that you have paragraphing and you'll lose a point. Line between paragraphs. And include a closing sentence. Your closing sentence doesn't have to repeat your arguments. You know, very often it's something like optimistic, like, we hope that in the future we will solve this problem or whatever. Make sure what you write is clear, that it's understood. Vary your vocabulary. Avoid using low-level words such as good, bad, nice, etc. You can use much, more advanced structures. Try not to repeat the same word again and again. And remember to use some high-level structures, such as the present perfect. You can always write research has shown that and make something up. You have your conditionals, especially the second or third condition. You have passive, you have gerunds. You have inversions, like when you begin a sentence, not only, and then you don't begin with you begin with the helping verb. Like, not only should you do this, but you should do that. You only invert in the first part. A modal perfect, could have been, should have been, and so on. I think another nice one is something like the more, right, the less. Like, the more we eat, the healthier we will be. That's also a nice structure. Okay, so that's for the Bagrut. My last thing that I wanted to talk about was English for life. Don't stop learning English just because we don't have English next year. My suggestion is learning videos on any topic. There's so many videos on the internet, things that you can learn about. You could learn about, I don't know, the mechanics of the car, or you can learn about history. They're just geography, archaeology, anything you want to learn about. The internet is full of information. You can go into YouTube. There are courses you can take for free on the internet. Some of them even are recognized for credit in some places. You can learn, there are lots of videos on literature, poetry, plays. You can expand, that way. There are SAT preparation books, and I want to say the verbal part, the language part of the SAT is fantastic. I just picked up a book that somebody left out to be thrown away, and I was very impressed with the way it deals with reading comprehension and vocabulary and summarizing material. You can pick up a book like that and just go through it, reading a variety of genres. Don't just get stuck in reading very low-level romances, but try to read a variety of genres, including nonfiction, so that you keep the level of English up. Okay, the last thing I had planned to do today was to show you some parts of The Merchant of Venice and talk about Shakespeare and the Jews, but I'm not going to try to do that here. If you have any questions about the Bagrut, you'll let me know. I have your school grades ready. I'm waiting for Efrat to give me the okay to publish them. And that's it. I'm sorry we didn't have a last class to do some closure, but I'll see you at on the day of the Bagrut. As far as the literature, I will accept the Much Ado About Nothing work pages until May 25th. And I'll also, if any of you are missing book reports, I'll let you know also by May 25th.